welcome back to the Grindhouse Podcast. Today's film is The Land That Time Forgot.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It has been a whole week. Can you believe it? It has been a whole week, I promise. I don't just have the one pair of clothes.
I don't know what you're talking about. I change my clothes daily.
But welcome back to the Grindhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Cheese Film.
And I am Hecubus.
And this is our sixth episode. Can you believe it? Sixth episode of Season 2.
I do not believe it.
That's insane.
It really goes by.
It does go by. And if you wanted to know, you can watch all of our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and even the grindhousepodcast.com has them all on there. Check it out. Because today we're looking at a classic from 1974. I say classic.
Because it's old.
Because it's old. Because I've never heard of this movie.
Really?
And I've never once.
Well, I was 3 when it came out, so I heard about it on TV and stuff.
And boy, do I have some stuff I want to talk about with this movie.
Okay.
Because I think it is 2 movies spliced together. And I'm interested to see how the book is. Because it reminded me a lot of the Lost World Jurassic Park book. The book, not the movie.
Hang on. Did you say the title of it yet?
I have not.
Okay.
But Cheese Film did in our intro. Cheese Film's got us.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But it is The Land That Time
The
Forgot.
Land That Time Forgot from 1974.
1974. I wasn't really sure what to expect in this movie because I've never seen it, and I don't usually watch the trailers for these things. I like to go in blind.
Right.
So for this one particularly, it was a suggestion from an avid viewer. So I was like...
A rabid viewer.
Yeah, a rabid viewer.
Well, not anymore because he's got rabies.
So I was wondering what this movie could be about, and
Did
how
the title
similar
not clue you in a little bit?
it was going to be to
You already
Journey
knew
to the
ahead
Center of the World.
Oh, okay.
Journey to the Center of the Earth. I thought it was going to be similar to that. Mm-hmm. The Land That Time Forgot. I thought it'd be very similar to the Journey to the Center of the Earth. And then when I went to look it up, it's a novel too. So I was like, okay, so this is probably going to be
Edgar
like
Burroughs.
that. And I don't think it is at all.
Like the book?
Like Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
this
No,
is
it's totally
vastly different.
different.
It's its own
He
thing.
wrote that too, didn't he? Edgar Rice
I
Burroughs?
believe he did.
And he wrote this.
Jamie, you should look that up.
And it's similar to the book in title only.
Really?
That's what I found out. I didn't read the book.
So, I brought up Lost World Jurassic Park because I just finished the audiobook, and it is an entirely different thing than the movie is.
Well, Jurassic Park has some different stuff too. Like they took out a lot of stuff that they ended up using in like Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
The pterodactyls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the
swimming.
river.
Yeah, and all that.
1918 novel.
By Edgar Rice Burroughs. No,
But who wrote Journey to the Center of the Earth?
that's the one where...
Yeah. But the book of The Lost World, it has maybe 2 or 3 things that ended up in the movie.
Uh-huh.
Like going back to Site B and the 2 T-Rexes and they attacked the thing.
Right.
When I started watching this movie, and they did their whole opening with the Lost at Sea.
Oh, Jules Verne,
yeah, I
20,000
knew
Leagues
that.
Under the Sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
1864.
And they
Good
do the
job.
whole under the bottle in the ocean thing. That's our story structure. I was like, I wonder, because this feels like it's going to be original to the thing. And the book would start where he goes, "You're never going to believe this story that I'm about to tell you."
Right.
But you saying that makes me think that I was kind of right with my prediction that it's not quite the source material.
Yeah, I think first of all, like there's no woman in the book, I'm pretty sure. And there is obviously in the movie and other things. But you said the movie opens with a thing being thrown off a cliff.
Yes.
And it goes in the water. And then it comes over to shore. And I swear to God, that's what it looked like to me.
Like the same exact.
Yeah, like they threw it
cliff,
off.
water, the base of the cliff.
Right, and then the guy finds it.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
I got that too.
Okay, it wasn't just me. Well, that's really a hint for the rest of the movie. This movie would be great for kids.
I was thinking that too. This would be a great, like King Kong, like
Yeah.
like the
King
original
Kong's
King
great.
Kong. It's got the effects are good enough to use a childlike illusion on it. Like they're not.
Yeah, you're right.
They have not aged well, especially in the era of Jurassic Park, where we
Right.
have almost lifelike dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're
So-
photorealistic.
These claymated animals.
They're not claymated. They're puppets.
Oh, are they?
They're all puppets on purpose so that it looks more fluid.
Really?
But it looks like puppets.
Puppet. Well, so I know the pterodactyls were just
Oh my god,
straight
they
up
were terrible.
toys.
And you could
The
see
giant
the
crocodile was
the
too. The strings.
the strings on the pterodactyls, and the one that they end up killing. Yeah, it's like there's somebody's just flopping a thing at them. It's
like I've seen.
man, it would be good for kids though.
It would be. That's what. Yeah.
Young kids.
So like if you had, I would say up to like a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
I would. This would be a great.
even
like,
up to 9, because like the blood and stuff, it's not too bloody for little kids, but it'd be harrowing for them to see
Yeah.
these animals being vicious and stuff.
It would be a thrilling kids movie.
Yeah, totally.
Like, like the Goonies is. Like that's not really like scary. You're not ever like really afraid of the
Right.
family who's coming for him or anything like that. But as a child, you're like, oh my god.
The suspense is good
Yeah,
for kids.
for kids. It's a great child suspense movie.
Yeah.
And it's an Amicus film, which we've talked
yeah,
about some
we
of
didn't
those on
say
here.
that.
Which I didn't know that going in. So
I forgot.
it was like a pleasant little, oh wow, a familiar name.
Right.
Because I don't recognize a single person in this.
Well, I'll tell you a couple things. One, oh man, what is his name? Doug McClure. He was a big star on TV, and this was kind of supposed to be his big boom into TV, movies. And we're not the only people that didn't think this was a very good movie. The audiences at the time did too. So he really had a mediocre, lower budget movie career.
Yeah.
Doug McClure did.
Well, and that's kind of what Amicus specialized in.
Sure.
They did the stuff that Hammer didn't do, and Hammer did the stuff that Universal didn't do.
Right.
So it was a trickle down process. But I will say this: the charm this movie has, I think, is its strongest.
Yeah, I think Doug McClure
Aspect.
brings a lot of that charm too.
Yeah.
He really pulls it off.
Is he the main
acting-wise.
guy?
Yeah, the American guy.
Yeah, he's. And this earlier I brought up this is 2 straight up movies because I was really enjoying the war movie this movie starts with.
Yeah,
The invading of the sub, all that kind of stuff. I think it's shot really well.
really well.
Like once you get to the island and you see all these effects, it goes to show you just how well the beginning of this movie was
Right.
done and taken.
Yeah,
Because like you've got dramatic lighting, you've got interesting shot choices, you've got a breaching submarine that goes up and down a couple times.
yeah, that's all miniatures, but
Yeah, and
everything
they
else
don't
is a
look
puppet.
like miniatures.
It
That's
looks pretty
another
good.
thing. Like I mean, like you can tell it's a miniature, but like
They're well done.
you know it's a miniature because you can't
know it's a
film.
miniature.
Yeah, they're well done, and honestly, like right up until they got to the island, I was like, "This is really good. I'm
was-
really enjoying this."
It is really good, and even when they get to the island, and he's like, "We need to start working together,"
Yeah,
and all that. And I was like, "Come on with the dinosaurs! I want to see the dinosaurs." But yeah, that's
well,
great. All that
kill
up
off.
to that. It's got a good
real
ending
quick,
too.
They,
Yeah,
the
the main
giant,
kind of guy.
Alligator thing right away.
Yeah,
It's a guy.
The stakes are high.
Immediately, and that so then you transition to this. Man, I don't want to say like King Kong ripoff, but it does kind of feel like they landed on Skull Island.
Well, this was written before that, but yeah, it is like that. It's the German submarine commander, played by John McHenry.
Yeah.
He says what the island is. Shoot, I forgot the name of it. A guy discovered it, couldn't land on it because it's all cliffs.
So they're gonna do what he couldn't do.
And they go underneath it because they have a
Yeah.
submarine. And that guy back in the 1500s,
Top Rona.
Caprona, yeah.
Caprona.
In the Bermuda Triangle.
That must be
That's
from the
where it
book because it's not.
don't
It
go to the
can't be in the
Bermuda
Bermuda
Triangle,
Triangle.
IMDb.
And it's a lost world kind of thing where evolution plays out differently than it did everywhere else.
Which is funny because the dinosaurs didn't wipe out because of evolution.
Yeah, right.
They wiped out because the flat Earth couldn't support them anymore, and the ice wall took
That's
them.
a good one. That was good. But the people are evolving because they're like
Yeah, there's,
Cro-Mags, then they're or Neanderthals, one of those two, and then they go into more Homo sapiens, and the main one that they capture is telling them he's going to be basically promoted to that.
Uh-huh.
And then it's really contrived. They end up going to their village, and there's a big spring that the women are bathing in. And she's like, that's where all the life starts, and it flows down the river, and then starts with dinosaurs and moves back up to where they are. So everything, it's really,
Overdone.
it's supposed to be sciencey,
Yeah.
and it's way too junk science. Way too much.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you could have cut these cavemen out entirely, and I think I would have preferred it if you cut them out and had the crew slowly devolve.
Yeah, that would have been even better.
Kind of Lord of the Flies-y.
Yeah, sort of like, yeah.
But I also like the islands kind of forcing the primitive nature of human beings out
Yeah.
of them.
Speaking of people, did you know there's a sequel to this?
Yeah, the people that time
People
forgot.
that time forgot.
That was directed by Kevin Connor and also stars Doug McClure, John McKendry, and Susan Pellingham.
Did you know this movie has a remake?
Yes. And that was hard not to find information that was that. I didn't
movie.
want that one. Who's the guy? C. Thomas Howell, I think, is in it.
Yeah. I almost watched that movie and didn't watch the original one so that we can compare the two.
That would have been cool.
Like how we kind of did with The Fly.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was also like, because I ended up seeing the poster for this movie.
Yeah.
And man, I'm a sucker for those kind of
Boy,
posters.
that looks
I really am.
exciting.
Oh,
With the dinosaur
Lord,
and the
yeah.
submarine. Yeah. it's
Underwater,
great.
and it's got the volcano in the
Yeah, and the
background. It's so
volcano.
cool. But yeah, I think that's really where this movie's strong points are just like the charm of like a child's movie
Yeah.
and how the effects kind of you can watch the evolution of these types of effects
Sure.
because I
And
mean,
even our understanding of dinosaurs because they do
well,
not
at the
look
time
like that.
this
Yeah.
is what they were depicted as, and this probably, I don't know if scientifically speaking this was awarded any kind of applause
I'm sure it wasn't.
for
and we'll
its
have to ask Neil deGrasse
depiction.
Tyson about that.
Yeah, really. Because I know Jurassic Park really took its time to
Yeah.
do the best 3D rendering of what these animals would look like.
Right.
They obviously didn't do stuff like that back then because they didn't have access
No.
to these high-end computers. But I know they sculpted stuff and drew stuff on how the skeletal structure would sit. And I know that for a long time the T-Rex
was standing
skeletal
up
was
like this.
yeah, straight up and down with the little bitty arms like this
Yeah.
instead of more horizontal,
Right.
which
And
is
that's how
what
the-
the accepted rendition of its skeleton
Right,
is now.
except that because like I had dinosaur toys.
Right.
They're like this big and it's one color. And like the T-Rex is standing up like this.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones, like the Ankylosaurus and stuff, they didn't change too much, but the T-Rex surely did. And it's all one plastic. They are not realistic at all. I loved them. Loved them.
And that's
Like army men.
yeah.
Except they were dinosaurs.
And it's a good thing that this movie kept with that and didn't try to like invent their own thing, because it's the only, other than the militaristic, which I don't know how accurate all the military protocols are, if a crew of 7 men at the most can completely take over
Right.
a U-boat and
Well-
not one of them.
Coming out of the hatch, that's where they ambushed them coming out of the hatch. Only one person could come up at a time.
Yeah.
And then they went only to the bridge. And the captain says he's in charge now, do whatever he says.
Yeah, but not one of them
And
had a
then
gun on him. Like,
He did.
like he was
He's got a
sitting there.
knife or a key, and he goes and gets a gun, and they retake the submarine.
Yeah. Yeah. So they probably planned it out. And this is taking place during World War One.
World War One.
Because, which is a cool detail that they called them U-boats.
Yeah, right.
Because that's not something that is said anymore.
I keep saying submarine.
And he does say submarine again, but they initially called them U-boats.
Right.
And which is a World War One thing, because by the time World War II happened, they were submarines. But I think that's a really cool little detail to put in there to keep the movie grounded in the time frame that it is.
Yes. What is BS, though, is that Bowen, the guy played by Doug McClure, his family makes U-boats.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
You don't know
You don't
that.
know how to do it.
Your father's a U-boat technician. That doesn't mean you know everything about these
Right.
things.
Or anything about them. You're the spoiled
You
brat
just
kid.
Looked at him.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you know. Listen. If my father built cars, that doesn't mean I'm a NASCAR driver
Right.
at all. But
And he didn't.
but I think that's just kind of a just of the times thing where they had to get it going.
You got to be able to trust him for some reason, and
Yeah.
here it is.
And he's obviously something. I mean, he just kind of shows up
Yeah. Well,
in
he
the
was
middle of a battlefield.
he was on that boat that got sunk. Oh, which is kind of antecedent action. Like it's almost even just implied. Do they even show the boat getting sunk?
Not his boat.
Yeah, it's just the two survivors, him and the
him and the
woman.
girl. And then he asks if there's any other boats from the one that just sunk.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're the only ones.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting, but like I just kind of just comes out of nowhere, and then he could have just had him on that boat. He didn't have to save him,
Right.
and he could have just been a technician. Like there's things you could have done, and I think they just padded it out for the runtime.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's not. Once you get down to it, this movie could have been almost maybe 45 minutes long.
Sure.
And then they throw a lot of additional like dinosaurs in there and
Dinosaurs fighting each other.
fighting each other or flying around or
Yeah.
walking around. And they show the dinosaurs quite a bit.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of you get to see it because again, with a lot of these low budget B movies like this, it's more implied.
Yeah, because it was too expensive. It didn't turn out right.
Right.
Make it dark. Don't show it.
Don't
much.
show them. Which
This
is
is before
so
Jaws, too.
funny that Jaws would do that exact thing. They did the less is more because the thing wasn't working right.
Right.
And would constantly break down and start shaking because of the salt water in Maine. And you just like knocked it out of the park there. Why does everything else suck? And then you're like, well, because A, Steven Spielberg did it.
Right.
And
it's the
B,
characters are
the
great.
characters drive the story. It's a character story, which is why I was so invested at the beginning of this movie because these
Yeah,
characters
they really
are done
develop
so
them.
well.
Yeah.
They're
They're
so
they're
well.
drawn out characters.
And like you get to know them, you get to know them intimately, and it sucks when some of them die.
Right.
And,
And like that guy had lines and stuff. He wasn't just a red shirt.
Right.
That one, the guy that gets eaten.
the first time,
Yeah.
which looked great by the way.
Yeah.
So that had to have been a big puppet because he's moving around in there.
Right.
And then like obviously like when the pterodactyl swoop down and get that other guy.
Yeah. You see his feet kicking.
Yeah, but then they go to the wide shot with him in the sky, and he's
Yeah.
just static.
Yeah.
And the pterodactyl's static too. This is weird. I mean,
And their their
so
mouth
static.
is open. They're making noise, noise, and their wings don't flap. It's that was god awful.
it's not every day I sit because like, have you seen Bela Lugosi's Dracula movie?
Yes.
There's a part where he turns into a bat, and it's a rubber bat on a string, and
Yeah.
they're just doing this with it. And I was like, wow, that's horrible.
Right.
I think I'd prefer something like that than to just a static
Yes.
image or a static plastic pterodactyl
Yeah.
just kind of hovering in the sky. But again, like you just look at how far we've come in practical and CGI effects because this is an example of practical effects not really done to their best.
No.
Because we've seen claymated dinosaurs.
Yep.
There's claymated dinosaurs in King Kong.
Right. And they purposely didn't it does look a little choppy with the claymation, but I would prefer it over puppets.
I would too. And I mean, you don't always have to get the best of the best, because the Black Scorpion didn't.
Yeah.
And it looks great. So you could have just done that. Not everything has to be Harryhausen, but you gotta give me something else, because it's a kids movie.
It really is. It
And
would
it
be good
feels
for
like that.
kids. And like I said, with the gore, because it does have blood in it and stuff, but it's not gratuitous, and that kids would have a good time with this.
Yeah, they would. And I would suggest it to kids too, because of like what we talked about earlier, with how it's just thrilling enough for a kid to be engaged the entire time.
Yep.
And it's got enough cool scenes and cool creatures and cool
Yep.
otherworldly things to keep the attention
Definitely.
and imprint on them. I know for a fact, if I would have seen this as a kid, I mean, the first dinosaur movie I saw as a kid was Jurassic Park.
And where you're going down from there.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the home run, you can see everything else. But if you saw this first, and
Let
had
me
a
tell you
love for
something.
this,
Yeah, when you see this stuff and then you see Jurassic Park, it's like they got him from the zoo.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I went to see it and then went to work, and they were like, "Well, how was I?" I'm like, "It looks like they got him from the zoo. It
Isn't
looks
that
like they got him
amazing?
from the zoo. It is. I'm right now. My mind is blown. I'm feeling how I felt way back then. It was so. I was. They used a lot of bushes moving
yeah,
as a suspense thing, and I was at a red light, and I look over, and I'm just staring at this bush that's moving. I'm like, why am I staring at this moving bush? Because it was windy. I'm like, because of Jurassic Park.
so
Waiting for something to come out of there.
talk about a great use of suspense too.
Yeah.
Because you see the raptors first,
And what they
in the
can
little
do.
pen,
Yeah.
and it's all, you don't see it at all. It's all upshots on the disgusted faces of
Yeah.
the guests, and then they pull out the harness, and it's all mangled.
Yeah.
That's your first introduction.
Well, the first introduction is when they.
shoot her.
Yeah.
That was great too.
And all you see is the eye.
So like, I don't think that Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3, I don't think the effects got worse. I think they were all pretty
Yeah.
on par.
Pretty on par.
Love them or hate them, I think the dinosaurs never looked bad.
Yeah.
Jurassic World, I think they did a really good job. The next two, I feel like, diminished. You can tell more and more.
I think you can tell more and more too, but also the story and the characters are just weak in those other ones.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that Fallen Kingdom one.
Yeah, and the whole
I didn't even see all of the
End of
second
it.
one.
Fallen Kingdom
No, the second
is
one.
the second one.
No, it is.
Dominion's the last one.
Oh, Dominion is the one I liked. I
The-
didn't see all of Fallen Kingdom.
You didn't see the best part of Fallen Kingdom?
I guess not.
when the
because-
raptors loosen the mansion?
Oh, well, I saw it on the trailer.
Somebody said it's like a Hellboy comic. Like, it's that cool. Like, it's a
You didn't
gothic
see it?
I've seen it,
Oh,
but that's what he compared it to.
I'll watch that part then.
Speaking of comics, did you know this movie we're talking about got a Marvel comic adaptation?
You know, I'm not surprised about that.
Yeah. A
Uh,
one-shot.
It's for kids, and those comic books were for
At the same
kids.
time that sequel came out, a Marvel comic came out, and this grossed 22.5 million rental sales in U.S. and Canada.
Rental.
Yeah.
That's
So this was
well after it came out, because you couldn't rent anything.
it was a box office. Not a box office. What's the other one? Home video.
Yeah. Gem.
Yeah. A home video success. And part of me is surprised about that.
Almost 2 million admissions, I think, in France.
What was the budget? 'Cause I
It's
forgot.
so on Wikipedia,
He's reading. He can't see it.
Stop playing with my wallet.
250,000 dash over 1 million. So either it's 1,250,000 or between 250,000 and 1 million.
Does it say U.S. and then Canada?
No.
Who
The
cares?
same way. Anyway, yeah.
It did not do for Doug McClure what he needed it to do, and he went on to have a regular old career. It was not huge. Obviously, these kind of movies weren't big back then anyway. It wouldn't be for another 3 years. Once Star Wars came out, all this crap was great.
Yeah. It plays as a pretty good adventure movie.
It is a great adventure movie because, like the adventure with the people is the best part.
Yes.
Like even when they're refining oil and stuff, that's really cool.
I like that. I really want to know how this book goes, or the novel goes, because like there's a lot in here that you would think is an adaptation from the novel,
Me
and
too.
if it's so different,
Yeah.
I really want to know.
I want to know what the
that
difference
was
is.
like.
Yeah.
Because with Amicus, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't have just used the novel as more of a template. I mean, it's already written.
Right.
It's less you have to do. So I'm wondering why they didn't do that, and if that novel is one of the fabled non-adaptation. You can't adapt
no
it, like
way.
Watchmen.
Especially
they say
that
Watchmen's not an adaptation,
Yeah.
not adaptable.
Same as Dune.
Yeah, like
They did a great job with Dune.
They had to break it up.
All three of them. Because
All
I
three-
like
the
the
David
David
Lynch
Lynch one. I never read the book, so I'm allowed to. That's the main problem. Is
I don't
people
know if I'll
there.
ever read that book.
I'm not gonna. I
too
tried
long.
reading it when I was in high school, and if there's a word I don't know, I'm just gonna make it up in my head,
Right.
and then keep going. There were
That's
too many
all
words
that.
in a row, and I'm like, I'm not gonna know what the story is. But those, wow, they're good. Holy cow, the Denis Villeneuve ones, they're great.
I wonder if this movie had any kind of influence on things down the road.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Nobody I had looked up was citing it as a reference or anything, but I'm sure they all saw it. I'm sure, like, all those special Dennis Buren and all those guys probably went and saw this just to see the special effects.
So in the Lost World novel, they
Are
bring
you talking
up
about
not
the Jules Verne one or the
no,
Michael Crichton one?
This entire time I've been talking about Michael Crichton's
Okay.
The Lost World. Jurassic Park: The Lost World,
Right. Okay.
the novel, which is just called The Lost World. Not the other, because there's been an adaptation of that. That's a silent
Yeah.
movie that I would love to check out. But in that book, in the Michael Crichton book, they talk about how the Site B Island has nobody there. There's no people there. It's all left their own. And they're like, well, then we can study this island to see how evolution plays a part.
Right.
Kind of how this movie is doing too.
Mm-hmm.
But in the novel, Malcolm's like, you absolutely can't, because man messed with it so much that it's
not
evolution anymore.
right.
I wonder if Michael Crichton saw this movie whenever he would have seen it and was like, well, that's kind of a cool idea, because these books are sciencey.
Yeah, they are.
Like the Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park: The Lost World, they're
And
not
the
like
Andromeda Strain.
they're sciencey books. Like they take it seriously.
Yeah, they do.
So I'm wondering if he thought that was such a cool idea.
Like,
that
what
he
would
would bring
happen
it
if
in.
today's technology could do that?
And then gave the answer of it wouldn't matter because we
Right.
did it anyway.
Yeah.
And we had too much of a part to play for it just to be evolution. But it's really neat that this movie kind of has a lot of parallels to The Lost World in ways like that. I am a fan of how the Stegosaurus looked, though. Or the
Yeah,
Triceratops. The Triceratops I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool looking puppet.
Yeah, it was. And when it stabs the other one in the gut. See, that's what I'm saying. It's got violence like that, but kids can handle that.
Because there's not a lot of human violence. I mean,
No.
they get eaten,
Well,
but there's not like...
They do have that
War.
war kind of thing with those bone axes. They kill people, but it's always like this. Hey, did you guys hear? Oh! And then you see the thing in his back.
Yeah, there's like no gore.
No.
I'd put this on TV. I don't see why you wouldn't put this on.
No.
Like, the Sci-Fi
The only
Channel.
thing is that spring I was talking about that she said is that's where evolution. She's a biologist. That's why.
Yeah.
Is coming from. They're topless, but it's for
Cut
like a
that
5
out.
seconds.
But yeah, I wonder how the sequel compares. If it's better, if it's worse.
I wonder what it's all about because most of those people died in the submarine except for 2.
Yeah. And then what does a remake do? Like
Yeah.
how do you do that? Because I saw some of the dinosaurs on the cover of that one, and they're completely CGI. It came out in 2008.
Yeah.
So everything that was the CGI kick, and if you didn't have a good enough budget for that, it didn't survive.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where I'm going to check that out just because I just watched this one.
And it's free on Tubi. That's really the biggest pusher for me, is that it's free on Tubi.
This movie is public domain.
Oh,
This
really?
1974 one is public domain.
That just means
They didn't like it that much enough to let the copyright expire. Which explains why it was free on YouTube. I was wondering why.
I wonder
that
why
one
it was
got
free
on
on
there.
YouTube too, but there's a lot of stuff that's free on YouTube that I don't know why, and I don't care. Yeah, I'll watch it if I want to.
Was the people boiling alive in the boat cool?
And you know what's going on, and it's all red.
Yeah.
And this movie ends with a nod to the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, he throws his memoir off a cliff.
Yeah.
And they show it just like they did at the beginning, and then the guy finds it. But it looks like at the beginning goes off the cliff, goes in the water, and comes right to the land.
It did do that because you threw it out right into the tide.
Yeah.
So it brought it right back on a rocky shore.
So all they had to do was go to the other side of the island, and everything would have been fine.
Right. I do think it was kind of clever. Again, I talk about this the front half of this movie.
Yeah.
They took over the submarine, and the Germans were like, "All right, we'll do whatever they say." And like, "All right, we're gonna go west to meet up with the British."
Right.
And they're like, "Well, unless the sun's rising in the west, we're
In the
going the
south,
wrong
yeah.
direction."
And they put a magnet by the thing, which they went for 6 days.
Without realizing.
Yeah. Come on, Doug. Your dad makes submarines. You don't know that?
Yeah, I said that out loud while I was watching this today. But I thought that would that's such a clever thing to do. All of that stuff in the submarine.
Yeah.
You should have just kept going with that. Honest to God, because it's
Then it would have
so
been a submarine
good.
movie.
It would have been. You would have it probably would have done really well.
This film was the 14th biggest hit in the British box office in 1975.
I'm kind of not surprised about that. I've seen a
Yeah.
couple British films, not very good.
In the 70s, too.
Yeah, a rough spot for. Well, I mean, Amicus is a British production,
Right.
so I mean, and they're not always having the A. I say A grade. Hammer had
A-list.
the A-listers. Hammer didn't have A-listers. They just had good people, and
Right.
then they became A-listers.
Yeah, right.
You
Exactly.
know, like Peter Cushing
Exactly.
wasn't a big actor until after.
Right.
You know,
And Christopher Lee, I think, got a start with them.
I think
With
Christopher
Hammer.
Lee's. Oh man, I don't remember which one it was his first movie,
Yeah.
but I think Dracula might have been his first
When he plays Dracula?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be his first movie. And we'll forget
and
about it.
that man did it just to see if he could do it.
Right.
I love Christopher Lee.
He's great.
He's so cool. Well,
He should be on a Wings album.
You know what's funny? You take Ben on the run, and you know the story behind that, right?
Kind of, yeah.
He just showed up.
Yeah.
He was walking the lot. They were taking the photo, and he was just in it. Like that was it. It wasn't planned. A couple of those people were just people around, and
Yeah.
Christopher Lee just happened to be one of them.
One of them's a boxer, too, and they're like, hey, we should get this boxer.
Yeah. Have you heard his death metal albums?
I heard a clip from one.
So he's a descendant of
pretty-
Charlemagne.
Yeah, it's weird.
And he's
That's
got
the
a
name of it, isn't it?
whole- Yeah, it's like a rock opera. It's a
Yeah.
whole story of the story of Charlemagne.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to hear either Count Dooku or
Lord Sauron.
Sauron
Or Saruman.
say the Saruman. Yeah, it's like that.
Wizard.
It's pretty cool because that's what he sounds like.
Yeah, and that's what he's singing. He's got a couple Christmas albums too.
Does he really?
Yeah, and
Man.
like they're like corny is what they are.
Yeah, of course.
Like Jingle Bell Hell. Like it's Jingle Bells, but like it's dark.
Yeah.
And it's God, man, he's and the photo of them is like him sitting in a chair like this, looking at the camera, holding like a Flying V guitar. Like it's like, come on, guy.
That's great.
That is genius. That's so hilarious. And you know, maybe if Amicus got Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee to be in this, it would have been a little bit better.
Yeah,
But the
they
actors
probably
they got really hit it out of the park.
Yeah, they did a
because-
good job, but they were probably under contract with Hammer and couldn't. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Cushing was in The House that Drew Blood,
all right,
and so was
maybe they weren't.
Christopher
Christopher Lee.
Lee. And they've done stuff with them because it's all there. But yeah, I would recommend this movie as a double feature between this and Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that would be cool to do.
Well, just to see the two dinosaur movies, but then as like an educational thing to
Yeah.
like see the evolution of filmmaking
Still
and these
special effects. and
special
stuff.
effects because they're really, it's like night and day.
Yeah, it is.
Because Star Wars came out a couple years after this, and Star Wars' effects, for the most part, are amazing.
They hold up.
Amazing.
They did a great job.
And these aren't terrible either. You know, I wouldn't say that they're great.
They're bad. They sometimes
but I wouldn't
you
say
can
they're
see
that
the
bad.
crease. It's
I
and
would-
the way their mouths are and the teeth.
The puppet one, not the hard plastic dinosaurs, but like that giant, they call it a giant alligator in the very beginning
Yeah,
when
right.
they get there. That thing I thought looked really, I thought it was claymation. I like when the stegosauruses are coming through. I thought they looked pretty
Yeah,
good.
they look good too.
And the T-Rexes look pretty good too. So I wouldn't say that they're horrible or that they're bad. I just say they're subpar.
They are.
And like you should watch that and be like, okay, wow. I mean, like these don't look bad, these don't look great, and then you watch
30 years later,
the pinnacle.
or 20. It's only 20.
Yeah, the pinnacle of special effects ever, and then compare and contrast, like how
Yeah.
we're doing right now.
Have you
Right.
guys seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah,
Yes.
twice.
Is that better?
That's a
Same,
completely
97.5.
different. It's completely different.
Or better effects?
The effect, there
no
are no
effects.
effects in it, and the fun of it is going to it and experiencing it.
It might be a hot take, but I don't think the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a good movie.
It's not.
A good
Some of the
musical.
songs are good. I don't like musicals at
Yeah.
all, but when you go see it, that's a blast.
That's what they say, but I don't have any interest in going to see it
Well,
because I don't like what I'm watching anyway. And I don't, throwing bread at the screen isn't going to be any more fun. You know, I
Yes,
guess
it
doing
is.
it with friends would be fun. but
with a whole crowd of people because they're always packed. But it's. I did it twice. It's great.
really,
Yeah, and I don't like musicals, and I like a couple of these songs. But
Curry's the best
yelling,
part of the
"Hey,
movie.
it's time to take the meatloaf out of the freezer!" That's great. Or everybody yelling, "Damn it, Janet!"
are they? Is it? It's time to
Getting
take
up
the
and
meatloaf
doing
out
the
of
time
freezer
warp.
because he's meatloaf.
Yeah, and he's in a freezer,
That's hilarious.
and he comes out on a motorcycle.
Motorcycle, which okay, that's fun. But
Yeah, it's a bad movie, Tom.
I don't think
Which is
you
worse.
can compare these two.
Yeah, I don't
They're-
think you can compare them.
It's like saying which one's a fruit, an apple and orange. Like
Yeah.
they're both too different to just say this one's the
The
definitive.
thing I'm going to say, I'll make a decision. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is a better movie because the songs. It's got great songs.
I would rather listen to those songs than really watch the second
Which
half
one
of this
holds
movie.
up more?
Rocky Horror.
Rocky
but
Horror.
it's still, I've not heard of this movie.
Another movie that came out this time period was Tommy, the Who movie.
Yeah, that movie's not that great either.
I would compare Tommy
got
to Rocky
great
Horror.
songs.
I wouldn't compare Tommy to this.
There's a bunch of other ones. I'm just giving you ones that I wouldn't recognize
Uh-huh.
as not a movie buff.
Well,
You
name
don't
another-
recognize Tommy?
Name a couple more that you don't recognize.
Popular Susan Day in Cage Without a Key.
Nope, never seen that.
The Prisoner of Second Avenue.
No.
Drowning Pond. The Mirror.
Yikes.
Music Park.
Yikes.
Night Moves.
Night Moves. That one's good. Sylvester Stallone and Rutger Hauer. That's a good one. Oh, that's Night
It's the
Owls.
same era.
That's Night Owls. Never mind.
I'm just listening to the song in my head. Working on the night moves.
Yeah, I guess 74 wasn't a great year for movies.
When did Godfather 2 come out?
You didn't mention Godfather 2. I don't know.
Popular 1975.
Then it wasn't 1975.
Well, this came out in 74.
No, they didn't.
That's what I said. Oh.
locked
well.
up.
All right, well, listen. My recommendation is if you're 7, 2 thumbs up.
If you got a
After
kid-
that, don't bother.
If you got a kid who loves dinosaurs,
Yes, definitely.
have them watch this. If you got a little tyke, he loves dinosaurs. Watch this movie.
Yes.
If you want to look into how
The evolution of visual effects
has come along, I'd recommend
this is a good
movie.
one to check out.
I don't know if you want to watch a good 30-minute movie. Check it out.
What, the first
The
30
first
minutes?
30 minutes. Because it's literally split in half.
Yeah, it is.
Like, that's what's so nuts about it is like halfway through it, then they get to the island.
Yeah.
Which I was really
Them
kind of
getting to the
surprised
island
about.
is so long. Yeah, I was too.
That you
But
think
that was good. I like submarine movies anyway, but that was good.
It was good. Man, I really, really hate saying that because I would recommend the submarine movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend the submarine movie all day long. I think the second half of this movie could have been done so much better. And I'm interested to see how the remake does it.
If they did it with stop motion, I think it would have been better.
I think it would have saved it because
that was a conscious decision they made not to
do. I think it ended up hurting them in the long run
I do
because
too.
stop motion, it's better than the puppets.
It is.
So I would give this a thumbs in the middle.
I give it a thumbs up to everybody under the age of 8.
We watch it on YouTube, and
Yeah.
it's streaming there. Just like this podcast. This podcast is also on YouTube. It's also on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and Audition. Put it up there. I didn't even put that on there. It put itself on there.
Great.
Go to thegrindhousepodcast.com, of course.
Yes, definitely.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at CheeseFilm98.
And Grindhouse Podcast on Facebook.
On Facebook, yes.
If you interact with us, we will talk to you.
We'll interact with you too. We love doing this and we love hearing from you.
And like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe and, just keep loving movies. Keep sending them our way because even though we can't recommend this to everybody, it was still fun to watch.
Yeah.
Just being a movie
To
lover.
do this, yeah.
So I guess I'd recommend it to you too if you are just a movie lover and you like watching movies and you
And
don't
you're
have
7.
anything else going on. So just throw this on because that's what it's all about.
Having a good time.
I've been Cheese Film,
And Hecubus.
and this has been the Grindhouse Podcast. Thank you for watching.